welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today I'm going to be interviewing author L.B. Davis on her new book, Angry Wives Club. And so I'm going to ask some questions and we're going to get some answers. So join me on this journey. My name is Jill and I have the pleasure of interviewing L.B. Davis today. I've known her for a little bit of time and I am very excited to find out what she has to say. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, L.B. So my first question is going to be, tell me about your journey.
Well, my journey started in high school. Now, when I grew up, I grew up in a strict household. My mom and dad, well, mostly my mom, she didn't let me do anything. It was go to school, come back home. And I remember one time I was in gym class and the gym teacher saw me running something, doing something, and she was like, "Oh, you need to join the track team." And I was like, "Oh, no, my mom's not going to let me do that." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll talk to her." I was like, "No, you are not talking to my mom for nothing." But it really intrigued me because someone approached me and was like, "Oh, you're good at something. You should do it." And so I went to my mom and I told her, and she was against it, but I kind of persisted on it. And she's like, "Okay, I'll let you go out for the track team, but you need to keep your grades up." And at the time, I was just a C student already. I wasn't that great. But one of my classes, my social studies class, I was failing in. And everybody in the class was actually failing. And so the teacher, he gave the students an opportunity to take one test. And whenever you got on that test, that would be your grade for the class. And so I studied. I really studied, and I ended up getting a B.
Okay.
So then when the progress reports came out, it showed that I had a D. And my mom saw that and she said, "You're off that track team." And I was hurt. I was like, "No," I said, "my teacher said this." And she didn't believe me. And when report cards came out, it showed that B. But my mom didn't care. She's like, "You're off the track team." And I was disappointed because you don't, talk back to your mother. If she says something, that's it. And so I was really disappointed. And I didn't know what to do with that disappointment. I just learned to just stuff it, And so that was my beginning to figure out, okay, when you are hurt, when you don't feel hurt, what are you supposed to do? Oh, you're just supposed to be quiet and just sweep it under the rug and just go on about life. So that's where my journey started in high school.
Okay, so then what was your inspiration behind writing this book?
Well, my inspiration was being married. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you've been married for any amount of time, you've experienced some unmet expectations, some disappointments, some anger. And the first 3 years of our marriage, that's what I was dealing with. I had unmet expectations, disappointments, frustrations, and I would try to bring them to my husband, but I really didn't know how to do it in a respectful way. And so again, what did I go back to? High school. I just started stuffing it. I just started going on about it. But then that does something to you. That builds bitterness in you. That builds resentment. And I still looked at my role as a wife, and I was like, well, I still want to help him, but my attitude wasn't right to help him because I wasn't dealing with those emotions of unmet expectations or disappointment along the way. And so I remember reading this book from it's called The Six Husbands. Every wife, yeah. Every wife should have. And that's when I learned about the story of the two trains. And basically it's saying that, a husband and a wife, before they met, they are like two high-powered, high-functioning trains. They have dreams and goals of things they want to do in life. And usually they're trucking along and they see each other and they're like, "Oh, you look good."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, "Yeah, you look good." And that's when they're dating. Everything is fine. And then you get married and then things start to get a little difficult. And then you say, "Okay, maybe it's better if I jump on your train so that we can get somewhere." And it's usually the wife who does that. And so again, that's my story. I jumped on my husband's train. I see what he's doing. But you know what? I didn't know who I was. I had these gifts and talents and things, but I really hadn't developed who I was and what I wanted to do for the Lord at the time. So that just wasn't a good space for me. But the Angry Wives Club was just, those are the stories that are brewing in the beginning for me to get to that point.
Okay. So then what was your journey to finding your train, which I do see is on the cover here?
Well, my journey was, even though I wasn't dealing with those emotions, they were bubbling up that I needed to address them. And so one of the things that was my pain and disappointment in my marriage is misprioritization. My husband, when he does something, he goes all out. And so that means that's his number one. That's what he's doing. And I was just feeling misprioritized in our marriage. I wasn't getting the quality time. So I was just feeling lonely. Even though I had a career and doing other things, it's just like I didn't feel prioritized. So again, I started looking at myself. And I realized, well, where's God? You know, do you have God as the proper priority? I kind of started looking and saying, you know, you got your husband as number one. So I was like, you know, God needs to be number one. And I need to be number two, not from a selfish standpoint, but a self-interest standpoint. That is getting to know who I am. And so that was my journey. I started reading things and trying to become a better leader at work because, you know, I work remotely. Before it became fashionable from COVID. I was working remote, but when you work remote, that actually was a little taboo. So there wasn't any career growth, you know, that was available when you're working remote. So I'm like, okay, here I am kind of stagnant at work and here I am lonely at home. I need to find who I am. I can't be defined by my career or by my husband. Who am I? And that's the journey that I started by first putting God first and then putting me and saying, God, what pleases you in my life? What do you want me to do?
Whew! That's like, so let me ask you another question. Okay. So after this realization that you talk about, what helped you to discover your call and your passion?
Well, I started volunteering. The church that we go to, they actually asked me to facilitate a small group. And usually, again, I was doing everything with my husband. We're together all the time. And so again, once he started doing his passion and I wasn't really interested in doing the same things, it's like, okay, what is it that I want to do? So I got an opportunity to lead a small group with a bunch of women. And that's when my leadership started coming out and people were seeing that and I was seeing it and I was just like, oh, and what was a blessing is I was helping these women. I was seeing myself in them and helping them, but also on the flip side, they were helping me.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, I like this. So I started growing as a leader. And then that's also when the attacks come, like, oh, you're really not as good as you think you are, or something like that. So again, it's about growing as an individual, not staying in that fixed mindset, but having a growth mindset, dealing with those negative thoughts that the enemy is trying to tell you that you're not enough, or something like that, and just choosing to say, you know what, I am, and I'm going to do something to wow myself. And so I started thinking, okay, what's something that I would never do? Because, you know, it was like, you get a certain age and you start thinking, oh, I'll never do that. That's not me. Well, I'm choosing to say, let me try that. Let me see something that I would do that I would never do.
Okay.
And one of the things I did was doing my first workshop. I'm an introvert. So I'm glad that you're here having this one-on-one conversation.
She's too
But to have a crowd of people and have to come up with a topic and discuss it, I was like, I would never do that. Right.
Yes.
And again, those negative thoughts, when I'm sitting there planning this workshop, you know, doing the marketing, doing all the things that it takes to get there, I was nervous. I was afraid, but I was like, nope. This is my wow myself goal. I'm going to do it with courage. I'm going to do it with faith. And I'm just going to do this thing. And you have to do, and when you're going through those attacks, you got to do something that you're passionate about. And what I was passionate about was journaling. I said, that's what I want to teach people how to do.
All right.
And so that was my first workshop on anger and journaling. And it was a success. I was surprised. I'm telling you, I was shaking in my boots. But at the end of the day, I was like, wow, I did that.
Wow. Wow. So then what did you do to wow yourself after you facilitated your first workshop?
Well, I had another workshop.
Okay.
And, you know, once you started, people see it. It's like, oh, you need to do this again. This is great. And I was like, okay. So I had another workshop. But then after seeing that, I was like, well, people want to take part of you with them after that. And so the next wow myself moment was, well, let me write a book. And that's really when the Angry Wives Club was birthed. I was like, okay, I started this workshop. Let me put it in a book so that I can help other wives that can't come to the workshop or just be able to share my story. I mean, we all have a unique story to share.
True.
And we all go through something. And when you start sharing your testimony with people, they're beginning to identify with it and get some hope to say, you know what, I can be better. I don't have to stay in this state. And so that's when I started doing those workshops and I started writing this book. I said, that is my passion. My passion is to help women who are hiding and hurting find a safe place to heal. And that's what I've been doing and growing level by level in doing.
I have goosebumps. I have goosebumps. So then once you found out your train was there, anything hold you back?
My anger. I mean, that's what I began to learn in the journey. I was journaling. I've been journaling, just life journals. I bullet journal, but coming up with the red flag journal, which is a complimentary journal with the book.
I just so happen to have it because, well, we'll talk more later, but this is the red flag journal, just so you have a visual. Yes. Okay, go ahead. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
So I was reflecting back on my journals. And I was just like looking at them and I was like, girl, you are angry. Every entry is like, you are angry. You're angry. And so I came across the scripture, Ephesians 4:26, and it's like, be angry, but sin not. And I was like, God, how do you do that?
Tough one. Be angry, sin not. I have to think for a minute.
I was like, because if I'm angry, sin is right there. It's just like, there, right there. So I was like, God, I need you to help me overcome that, you know? And so that was my journey in creating the red flag journal, is just walking through that process to see that, I'm tired of being lonely. Why am I lonely? Because I didn't have a life. I hadn't defined myself. I was attached to everything that my husband was doing, but there was leadership and gifts within me, unique gifts that I needed to develop that I was just sitting on. I was like a lamp or a light hiding under a basket. And so, being able to journal was like giving me clarity of who I was. It was giving me peace that, some of these things that you're getting angry about, is that what God's angry about? If God's not angry about it, you need to let that go. You know what I'm saying?
So who do you think would value the book that you wrote?
Oh, well, anybody who's looking at me and saying, I identify with you, I'm angry. I
do come to value this book myself. Yes, touche on that.
Yes. Yeah. Or if you find that you're lonely, if you're exhausted in the arguments that you're having with your husband, or that you find out that the way you're reacting to him is just not good. It's like, that's who would value from the book, because really anger is not good or bad. It's how you choose to use it. Anger could be negative, or it could be positive. And that's what I want the wives to do, from going bitter to better. I want them to use their anger in a positive way for change.
I was going to say something when you quoted Ephesians and you said the anger and the sin. I was going to say I feel like they're coupled, but hearing you, I guess being angry is not necessarily a sin.
No.
Okay.
It's how you react or respond. It's how you respond to that anger that will choose to sin. If you choose to be angry in the flesh, well, that's going to lead to death. But if you choose to be angry what God is telling you, that's going to lead to change. You're going to do so. And I've given examples like that in the book, like mothers against drunk driving. Someone got mad and made a difference to say, you know what, I want to stand up against drunk driving. So the thing that I want to stand up against is divorce. It's like, God doesn't want us to be divorced, but if we're not given the tools and the strategies to stay married, because it's not, you don't get married and be like, ding, I know everything to do. Correct. Right. So you're going to go through that journey. So I said, you know what? I want to be the answer to someone's pain. I want to be the aspirin to someone's headache. I've gone through this. I've been married for over 20 years. I've learned some strategies and principles along the way. Why do you need to bump your head to learn them when I could be like, hey, let me show you some things. Don't do this, help do. Here's the tools that help you Because it's like the first, like I said, first the 7 years of your marriage, that's hard.
Yes.
And if you don't get it right, you're going to end up in divorce.
Yes.
And then, but if you didn't get it right, guess what? You're going to take it to the next relationship.
No.
So you might as well keep the one that you have and learn how to surrender that to God. Learn who you are. Learn what your role is in there, and partner with other wives who are doing it successfully. That's the other thing too. Is like people get married and they still have their single friends.
Yes.
And they haven't, partnered with other wives who have these principles and strategies, but they've been keeping it to themselves. Because
Right.
who's out there talking about anger? Everybody wants to hide. But there's healing when you admit your emotions and be like, I'm here. And then take responsibility for your part in that. And then you're like, okay, God, help me repent and forgive for whatever is happening. And then let me do something that's going to be of value.
Wow. So what have these principles helped you achieve?
Well, first of all, like I said, who would have thought author? I mean...
True. True.
But I think it's helped me become a better wife.
Okay.
It helped me become a coach, a better leader. I look at myself as a bitter caterpillar.
Stop.
And
That's cute.
going through this journey, now I've transformed into this blessed butterfly. And that's really what LB stands for.
Wow.
Is little butterflies.
There's a lot of firsts on this show, I'm going to be honest. Wow. Okay. Okay, LB.
Okay.
It's getting real.
Okay.
I feel like it started real. So, what do you want your readers to know about you or about your journey?
Well, that real strength is in helping others. But you have to know who you are to help someone else. Because you're going to be standing there and really not know how to use your gifts appropriately, or you have to have the right character when you're helping someone. You need to have the right integrity when you're doing something. You need to have the right attitude. And that's what anger was doing for me in a negative way. I was bringing negative attitude with my gifts, and nobody wants to work with that. And you just need to have the proper lifestyle and language to do what God has called you to do. And that's what I learned. And that's what I want my readers to know, is that, through this journey, I've come up with a 6-step process to help, women realize where they are. In the book, I cover 4 cities that I want the wives to go through. Mm-hmm. And you can get stuck in any of those cities, but you got to realize where you are. Mm-hmm. So the first city is N.A.G city. N.A.G city stands for Negative Angry Girl. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I was in high school. I started learning how to be a negative angry girl, and I brought that into my marriage. And like I said, I had many great gifts and talents, but with a negative attitude. And no, that wasn't benefiting my husband. He was like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need that. So I had to get it unstuck. I had to realize that my response is my responsibility and start working on me to do that. And then the next city is Sin City, which is stuck and naughty. There's something that we're hiding, mm-hmm. that some sin in your heart. It don't have to be the big sins and little sins that people say. There's something that, are you walking in obedience what God has called you to do? And you need to uncover that and free and clean your heart of that. Mm-hmm. Now you're free to go into Passion City Farms.
Really?
And then that's where you plant your good thing, your seeds. Okay. And let them grow and discover who you really are, so that you can go to W.I.N City and focus on what's most important, which is helping others. That's where the real strength is using your gifts to help others. So that's what I want them to know.
Okay. So what other things can the reader look out for from LB Davis?
Well, right now I would just say go to angrywivesclub.com or join the official Angry Wives Club Facebook. And again, that's where you can find out anything new that's going on with me. And again, all I really want, wives to know at the end of the day, I want to build a tribe of better wives through journaling. And for them to realize that it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to sin.
Truest words if I've ever heard them. Well, I have to say, I am just so honored that you've allowed me to interview you. I'm equally honored that I actually own the book. I'm even more excited that I actually read it. And so I would like to include that I've known L.B. Davis for a little bit of time now, and when she talks about, really wanting to better wives and marriages, this is no joke. And it's just shown true and true from your mere presence. And so when I first heard that this book was created, I bought it so fast, wasn't even funny. However, when I first went to read it, I wasn't really ready. So when LB asked me, had you read it? And I only read a few pages, I didn't feel like a very good friend. However, when she was answering some similar questions to what I was asking today, I actually went home and opened this book, and I have to say that there's just something about this that, as a woman, makes you feel lighter and provides kind of like the insight into what maybe you didn't know you were feeling. I am so grateful that you've written this and appreciative to you. I think my husband is also. But so the journaling and the fact that you love journaling so much and that you've actually implemented it in with this book. So I went and journaled. Like, I did what, the book really says to do. So I read the book, identified issues, areas, needs for improvement, and then I have been doing some journaling. And one of the things that I've noticed about the journaling is because it is guided journal. So don't feel that you're alone. You're actually, she's with you, telling you what to write. It can get a little uncomfortable, but once you get started, it's kind of like the steam is just kind of goes away, dissipates. And all of a sudden, the things that really kind of maybe you have an issue with or bother you, it's not your hot topics so much. It's like, dare I say, you control the issue doesn't control you. Yeah. So that's my testimony that I wanted to include for everybody that's watching today, because if you have not gotten the book and the journal, just pause this video. Go to angrywivesclub.com, purchase it, then you can replay. I think you can push play on this video. And let us know what you think. Like, read the book, give it a try, go on Facebook, find LB Davis, and let's make a community. Let's talk about this, because I'm telling you right now, this is not a hidden secret. You're talking about it. We're not hiding, we're not stuffing, but every woman, no matter what your relationship status, if you're single, so what? If you're divorced, so what? If you're married, so what? You have a friend, right? You have a sister, right? You have a mom, right? Maybe you have a puppy. It will help make this journey a little bit more enjoyable, and why not do it as community? So on behalf of myself and everybody that's watching, thank you. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for being so honest with all of us today. I am so super excited. I think I'm going to go journal now, y'all. I'm just telling you. And I just want to thank everybody for coming today. Is there anything else that you want to add to everybody that's watching?
No, again, I just appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you just sharing how this book touched you. And, if you get the book and you start journaling, please join the Facebook, share your testimony with others. We would love it. We want to build a community of better wives. We're tired of being bitter. We need to change, and we can do it together in the community. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for the interview, Jill.
Get the book.
This has been great.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.